So you're announcing today that you're doubling aid for Sudan. So explain to us why this funding boost is needed. What's your assessment of just how serious the situation is there?
Well, the situation inside Sudan is catastrophic. What's happened is that these two generals are slugging it out using heavy weapons in built-up areas. And the result is that millions of people are on the move, they're internally displaced, and they're moving across the borders of surrounding countries, including into Chad, where I am, which is one of the poorest countries in the world and one of the least able to cope with this influx and flood of refugees. So what I'm here to do is to announce an increase in British humanitarian support so that we can help the poor people who are being brought across the border. And Britain is going to effectively double our aid to Sudan. We're also giving aid to Chad to help people who've come across the border. You asked me how serious this is. We now have clear evidence of famine conditions. And also the fighting that is going on in Sudan, which bears all the characteristics of ethnic cleansing in Darfur. That is causing even more migration as this spreads across a number of international borders. And of course, ultimately, if Egypt's closed its borders and other countries are inhospitable, people will march north and they'll march towards the Mediterranean and across into Europe. So this is something which not only affects the region, it also directly affects all of us as well in Europe.
How confident are you that money will get to the people who needs it most? I mean, humanitarian access has been severely curtailed in Sudan, hasn't it? So will the people who need it get the aid they need?
Well, in Sudan, you are absolutely right. Not only has humanitarian access been incredibly difficult, but these very brave, unarmed humanitarian workers have been murdered there. Something like 20 people who work in the humanitarian sector, they've been murdered. So it's very dangerous as well. We are confident in the work we're doing here on the border with Sudan and Chad because we are working through brilliant organisations like the World Food Programme, the International Rescue Committee, the IRC and the International Red Cross. And we know that British taxpayers' money is really delivering to people who are starving here and who have nothing. They've been pushed over the border just in the clothes that they wear. And 88% of these people who've come across the border here, in vast numbers, 88% are women and children.
And Sudan is not the only country that's in desperate need. There's also a huge amount of concern at the moment about Gaza as well as other impoverished nations. Given that, are you frustrated at all that the UK's aid budget, which was dropped from 0.7% of GDP to 0.5% of GDP during the pandemic, hasn't been pushed back up to those pre-COVID levels?
Well, we've managed over the last couple of years since I came back into office to find ways of increasing the amount of money that we're able to deploy. We work together with other nations, so that's a way of effectively doubling the money that we are using for humanitarian work. Also, we have other ways of multiplying the funding. But the point is that you can see that that has been an effective thing to do because we are able to announce today that we are nearly doubling the amount of funding for Sudan to try and tackle this very difficult and appalling catastrophic crisis. But also we're able to put money here into the border areas to help desperate people. And I think, firstly, that the government has managed to find this money. But secondly, that British taxpayers can be incredibly proud of the fact that we are moving the dial. We are making a real difference in the lives of absolutely desperate people.
And we do have to let you go in a moment, but I did want to ask you a question about Gaza, because judges at the International Court of Justice yesterday unanimously ordered Israel to take all the necessary and effective action, they said, to ensure basic food supplies arrive without delay to the Palestinian population in Gaza. What more do you want to see Israel do?
Well, Britain has been arguing the same. Britain has been arguing that it's essential that we get aid into Gaza in much larger amounts. There has been an increase in the amount of trucks that are getting in, but it's not sufficient. That's why the Royal Air Force has been dropping food from the air. We've got a number of maritime initiatives coming down from Cyprus. So Britain is making the argument very strongly that we need to get more aid into Gaza. And we continue to make that argument not only with the Israeli government, but with other governments in the region who have the ability to help deliver aid as well.
So do you welcome this ruling from the International Court of Justice?
Well, Britain has never thought it was helpful to refer this matter to the International Court, which I don't think is likely to move either of the two people involved in this conflict, Hamas and Israel, any nearer to the ceasefire, which is absolutely essential. And Britain has argued consistently that what we need is a pause to get humanitarian aid into Gaza and to get the hostages out of Gaza. And then that leads, we hope, to a permanent ceasefire. And Britain has never thought that the ICJ, who we respect enormously, getting involved is likely to bring the resolution of these problems any closer.
OK, well, Andrew Mitchell, Foreign Office Minister, thanks so much for joining us there in Chad. We appreciate it. Thank you.